Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
The Chargers are looking to make waves in Jim Harbaugh's second season. Also, the Detroit Lions were already looking like an infirmary heading into the season, and now a crop of injuries are somehow making things worse. And are the Green Bay Packers as good as they think?
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
The LA Chargers among the first teams to open camp for the 2025 NFL season. Big expectations for Jim Harbaugh, Justin Herbert, and company in year two. Daniel Wade from Locked On Chargers joins me now. And Daniel, there's already been copious amounts of taking way too much from a couple of clips from Chargers camp. That is true in every fan base, by the way. That is not unique to Chargers fans. And I have to tell you, of all of the players in the Locked On Top 100, the guy that I heard the most about was Justin Herbert, of all players. So tell me what we should be caring about right now with this Chargers team in terms of storylines as we head into 2025.
I think the main thing would be, is he going to start the season with any weapons? I mean, he had his, free agent signing running back had a firework incident that, he may or may not be able to play at the beginning of the season after a firework incident, Najee Harris. And then, their big free agent wide receiver addition, Mike Williams, goes from a minor injury last Wednesday, according to their general manager, to full-blown retirement on Thursday. So I think the big thing with them was going into this offseason, doing whatever they could to try to improve the weapons around him, try to give him a better supporting cast. Yeah, we sit here with training camp already started, and it feels like they're going to have to get major contributions from rookies if they're going to be a much better unit in 2025. So they're looking at Trey Harris, second-round wide receiver, who's now thrust into a bigger role at the X-receiver spot with Mike Williams retiring. Omarion Hampton, full steam ahead because he doesn't have the running back competition he thought he was going to have with Najee Harris sidelined. So it's going to be a lot of rookies if this offense is going to be much better than the one that put up the paltry effort we saw in the playoffs.
And there's already Rondé Gatson, the surprise player. Every camp has one. Hey, look at this guy, rookie from Syracuse, close to my heart. He's someone who's shown out a little bit here as well. Let's talk about Justin Herbert specifically, though, because he for whatever reason, and he does not invite it. He is not a polarizing personality. I don't watch him play and think he has a polarizing style of player. And yet he engenders such strong reactions from fans. What can he do you think, this season to prove whatever doubters that are left wrong? How does he right the ship? Short of being the MVP and this, winning the Super Bowl, all of those things. Let's set some reasonable expectations here.
Yeah, and I think that's a tough thing with him, Peter, is it almost feels like short of an MVP season, there's nothing he can do in the regular season to shut anyone up. There just isn't. I mean, he's 0-2 in the playoffs. That's what it's going to be about. Until you win a playoff game, that is going to be the story around you, and that is going to be the narrative that you have. And so I think that's kind of the hard thing for Chargers fans to deal with this time of year. It's you can't even go into, Brazil and beat the Chiefs in week one on a Friday night on YouTube and feel like you've even really, exercised any of your demons. Those things can't happen until the playoffs. And then that's the other thing too, is get to the playoffs first. Your schedule's much tougher, right? It's going to be a tougher task than it is last year. Spencer Rattler's not walking through those doors. You're not going to get Jameis Winston in Cleveland. It's just going to be a lot tougher this year for them to get there in general. And then once you get there, it's all killers, man. You could get a Josh Allen in the first round, or a Lamar Jackson in the first round, or a Joe Burrow, or a Patrick Mahomes. So even just getting there, it's hard to sit here and be like, he's going to win this year in the playoffs. You don't even know who he's going to get right now. And the two guys he's lost to in the playoffs so far, how much blame he deserves and all of that is going to be a discussion forever. But it's CJ Stroud and Trevor Lawrence. Those aren't even the killers. So it's really interesting because it doesn't feel like it matters what happens in the regular season, because the man had 3 interceptions all of last year, and everyone's only going to remember the 4 that you threw against the Texans.
Yeah, and for better or for worse, this is how legacies are built, right? I mean, we anoint Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes and those guys as some of the greatest of all time precisely because they won in the postseason. If you're going to pick one of those rookies, you mentioned a number of them, that can most elevate this team? Like if they pop, who is going to elevate this team the most?
It's Omarion Hampton, and it's just because of how bad the rushing game has been with Justin Herbert at quarterback. This was a really funny stat I picked up this offseason. Last year, the Chargers were 17th in total rushing as far as rushing yards. By far the worst that Greg Roman has ever had. And 9 seasons as an offensive coordinator, it's the only time Greg Roman's been outside of the top 8. He has 4 top 1 finishes, 6 top 3 finishes or better, and 1 number 17, and it came in his lone season with the Chargers. 17th is Justin Herbert's best rushing attack that he's ever had. So you have the polarization of the worst Greg Roman's ever had somehow being the best Justin Herbert has ever had. But when you're talking about a team that had a box score that had Ladd McConkey 9 catches for 197 yards in a playoff game, and the next best receiver, actually the rest of the receivers combined 2 receptions for 16 yards, you need offensive firepower besides Ladd McConkey, besides Justin Herbert. Omarion Hampton is the biggest needle mover as far as that goes, because if he can help you stabilize the rushing attack, if you can get back to a team that looks like a Greg Roman rushing attack, which has been top 10 every year except for last year, that moves the needle for me, and that makes this a much different team now that you have a Jesse Minter who can actually stabilize things and get the most out of your defense. Now you're looking at a team that substantially could be better offensively than it was last year because you kept your best piece in Ladd McConkey. But I'm looking at the rookie Omarion Hampton, who should have all of the opportunities very early on to kind of cement himself as the starter.
You can stay up to date all year on the LA Chargers by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Chargers on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. You're Locked On Sports Today. Coming up, the Lions are somehow even more injured. Before we get to that, Caitlin Clark is going to be out a little longer for the fever. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. I've been using FanDuel to track my favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. It's easy to use, fast to pay out. It makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. Plus, we got NFL futures right now. I am very interested in, for example, the Dallas Cowboys to make the playoffs at plus odds. New to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Tonight's Fever Liberty showdown just got a star power flip. Caitlin Clark officially out with a right groin injury, her 12th missed game of the year after never missing a single game in college or early in her pro career. Meanwhile, New York gets a big boost. Finals MVP Jonquel Jones is back after a month-long ankle injury. The Liberty went 7-5 without her, a far cry from their 9-0 start. Tip-off 8 o'clock on national television. And while Clark's on the sidelines, one all-star return just in time to make sure things are interesting. Over in baseball, the Phillies score with the Red Sox.
Well, as the old saying goes, they don't ask how, they ask how many. And now the Phillies have 57 wins on the season. How did they get it? A walk-off catcher's interference with the bases loaded in the bottom of the 10th inning. That's how they got it. First time that's happened in a ball game since 1971. How about that? Edmundo Sosa just getting enough contact there with Carlos Narvaez's mitt to make sure that he brought that runner home on a catcher's interference. Not bad. Phillies do pick up the victory. A couple other things to highlight here. Zach Wheeler, 105 pitches, 6 innings of 2-run baseball with 10 strikeouts. He did allow 7 hits, but when he needed those put-away pitches, he got him. Also, Bryce Harper, 2 doubles in the game as he continues to hit for this Phillies lineup, albeit just 2 runs through 9 innings. Now the Phillies look to take the series against the Red Sox by winning Game 2 on Tuesday night at 6:45 with Christopher Sanchez on the hill going against Richard Fitz.
The Mets struggled with the Angels.
The Mets tied their biggest comeback of the season, rallying from 4 runs down against the Los Angeles Angels. This one, a team effort, started with the bullpen once again saving the Mets bacon, keeping this game close enough to where the comeback could even happen in the first place. And Mets only had 1 hit with runners in scoring position, but productive at bats. A couple of fielders' choices, got some help from the Angels defense, a sacrifice fly, and Francisco Alvarez with a big double to set things up in the 8th inning. A good comeback, a good fight, a good team win from the Mets, who needed one like this. Lindor is going through it. Alvarez in his first game back. The Mets offense still trying to find themselves 100-plus games into the season. So to have a scrappy comeback win like this to start a series against the Angels sets the tone for what should be a fun week.
And the Yankees went across the border to face the Blue Jays.
Undisciplined, inexcusable, and if there's one thing we learned from the Yankees' Game 1 loss in Toronto, it's that they are in desperate need of a third baseman. I'm Brian McKeon from Locked On Yankees, and Carlos Rodon was an absolute gamer in this game. A big game pitch from him, really battled throughout the entire start, but his defense let him down. We know they can't do anything about Anthony Volpe, and he will be the shortstop moving forward. But Peraza, they can do something, and they need to hit the trade deadline before the trade deadline gets them first. Go out there, get the player that you want, and make an aggressive trade before the rest of the league starts to make trades. That's the Yankees' option here. The Peraza experiment is over, and it's time to move on before the division gets away from them. We'll be discussing all that and much more on Locked On Yankees throughout the week.
The Detroit Lions are once again injured to hell and back. Locked On Lions host Matt Derry sat down with former Lions receiver and current CBS analyst Nate Burleson to discuss how Detroit is navigating through their injuries during training camp.
Injuries are, they've opened up training camp early. Them and the Chargers, of course, are going to play in the Hall of Fame game in 10 days. And, you know, Frank Ragnow retires. You lose Ben Johnson. You lose Aaron Glenn. Ozarike is now out. You're going to have a rookie center. A lot of injuries already early on that D-line. How do you kind of view all that right now as we're in July?
It's tough because, you know, you finished last season, and we're all saying the same thing to ourselves. Yeah, but if we didn't get injured, I mean, listen, we could take a few guys, a handful maybe, 8 or 9. But when you're talking about double digits guys that are impactful on both sides of the ball, we're all saying the same thing. If the Lions didn't get as banged up as they were, it would have been our season. Now, all of a sudden, you're having these issues early on, and it's a little frustrating. But I just hope that this injury bug, it's the early wave, and that's the only wave. The thing that hurt us last year is that the wave hit us and it just remained consistent, and it ramped up at the end of the year. We've been around this game long enough, Matt, to know like the injury bug is supposed to hit you. It's supposed to be like COVID, man. You can't taste nothing, can't smell nothing, then it's gone. But for the Lions, it just stuck around way too long, and inevitably we just couldn't hold up. You know, the players, that's one thing for me. Don't get me wrong. It's in between the lines, as always, every single season. But Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, it's what I keep thinking about. And it's not necessarily because you can't replace those guys. What made Ben Johnson so special is that it wasn't that he just called the right play. It was that he called the right play at the right time. And then he added in this wrinkle of like the perfect trick play when he needed it. And it wasn't about a random trick play. It was like my dude was set. He was diabolical with the setup. You know what I'm saying? And was setting up weeks in advance. So that's going to be tough. I'm really going to be paying attention to the flow and the chemistry of the offense. And then, of course, Aaron Glenn and the edge that he brought to that defense. I mean, just making the next man up feel like he was the first man up. Like that's the type of leadership that you know, he's going to like take with him, or that he did take with him. Now, with that said, Dan Campbell has like, he's not selling culture. Like he planted culture. And for that, you can't shake. So it seems kind of like cliche. Oh, man, listen, man, Dan Campbell he's going to say the right things. He's going to be the right version of, not like Dan actually is absolutely 100% authentic. And I think that right there is going to make up for a lot of these inconsistencies that we may be looking at before the season starts.
What do you like? Look, they're not going to win 15 games again. I just don't see that, especially with this schedule. But what do you like most about the team right now, and what maybe worries you a little bit?
Well, starting off with DC and then Jared, I was able to run into Jared Goff at a Pistons game. And, you know, he's been through so much, and he's finally getting the flowers that he deserves. You remember when he got traded to Detroit. I love Matt Stafford. I love all the success that he has had. I believe Matt Stafford is a Hall of Famer. I'll say it over and over again. But I remember distinctly when Jared Goff went to Detroit, collectively, if you weren't in Detroit or you weren't familiar with Detroit, it was almost like the death sentence. Like, oh, all right, let's just send him off to Detroit and we'll see what happens with his career. So those are the two main things that I love. Offensively, I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown is legit my favorite receiver. I think there's nobody that plays with a bigger heart than him. And then they were able to shore up some spots. I mean, they addressed the trenches in the draft, you know, D-tackle, offensive guard, added in some depth at wide receiver. So I feel like they have the pieces. Now, what worries me? The division, bro. Like this isn't the division that's up in the air. Like, we know what Jordan Love can do when healthy, and he's not playing around. The now Ben Johnson led Bears with Caleb Williams and all of this new firepower, this new vision, new offense, old Detroit Lions offense. It just scares me. Like, if they can figure it out, that's going to be our toughest opponent. It's going back to the old school black and blue division, like it was called before I even put on a Lions jersey. And then, the Vikings are just the X factor. We'll see what happens with the young quarterback over there. But that's the dynamic. It's like, as much as I can compliment the squad, coaching staff, players, and everything that I believe in this Lions roster to be, that division is tough.
Stay up to date all year on the Detroit Lions by subscribing to Locked On Sports today and Locked On Lions on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Coming up, the Green Bay Packers. Well, they better win. The Green Bay Packers have the roster to make a run this season. Locked On NFL host Tony Wiggins explains why, if the Packers fail to win, outsiders are going to look to blame Jordan Love, regardless of whether or not it's his fault.
Peter better be careful, because when you start naming all of these really good players and great players that Green Bay has, if y'all don't win, they're going to point right at that quarterback, because he's not going to have any cover. He's not going to have any excuses. I think Jordan Love's very good. I think he's been inopportunistic when it comes to a few drops, a couple of costly turnovers, an injury here or there, but it always seems to come at the wrong time.
This is the job description in the NFL. And while I do not personally subscribe to the QB wins theory of analysis, there are plenty of folks out there that want to prop up Jalen Hurts because his team wins. And I do think over long periods of time, over a career, how often your team wins when you are the quarterback is a reflection of your quality as a quarterback. It's not a coincidence that Tom Brady has won a lot. It's not a coincidence that Patrick Mahomes has won a lot. And even though Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and Aaron Rodgers before them, they don't have the postseason success to show for it. In the regular season, at least, they've won a lot. Well, the Packers were the 7th seed, the youngest team ever to make the playoffs in 2023. Then they were the 7th seed. They won 2 more games, but they were the 7th seed in 2024, the youngest team in the league, and they made the playoffs. They won a playoff game in 2023. They did not in 2024, even if it was in Philadelphia against a team that no one could touch in the postseason. It won't just fall on Jordan Love in all likelihood, but narratively it will. The same way, as we talked about earlier, it will fall on Justin Herbert if the Chargers come up short in the postseason. It will fall on the shoulders of Josh Allen once again, narratively, if the Bills don't get over the hump, if the Ravens once again fail to make a Super Bowl, fail to win a Super Bowl. That is part of the responsibility a quarterback has. You get too much credit when the team wins and too much blame when the team loses. There are expectations on the Packers now. And if they come up short, Jordan Love will get the blame, even if he doesn't deserve it. And finally, Bengals president Mike Brown didn't hold back this week, calling the ongoing contractual stalemate with rookie Shamar Stewart, quote, foolishness. Stewart is the 17th overall pick and the last unsigned first rounder, with both sides stuck on language around guaranteed money and conduct clauses. Brown said it just ought to get done, while Stewart's camp insists they're holding out for fairness. In the meantime, another contract looms. Star pass rusher Trey Hendrickson wants a long-term deal. Brown says talks are active and it'll get done. Well, the clock is ticking. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up, which NFL team has the most important fall camp ahead of them? So at least until tomorrow, stay Locked On Sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
For more episodes of Locked On Sports Today, go to our video on demand. Click on Sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.